we have Zina Manji from Haleon as well, actually. HITLAB Breakthrough One member, and a staunch supporter of the HITLAB events. And she has actually a permanent place on the HITLAB events at the moment with her segment Digital Health Focus. And this particular digital health focus is going to look at patient expectations and the power of digital health. This time talking to Jeannette Tighe from TruTag, who has also been on HITLAB events before, and I think talking more around a personal connection to digital health. So Zina and Jeannette, over to you.
Great, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, so my name is Zina Manji. I'm Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs for Innovation at Haleon. Indeed, this is a regular session we're doing at HITLAB called Digital Health Focus, where we take some time to spotlight an area. And I'm so happy to be joined by Jeannette Tighe with me today. She is the Vice President of Smart Medicine at TruTag. And we're going to indeed be discussing patient expectations and the power of digital health from a frontline view. So Jeannette, if you could introduce yourself, your experience, and the challenge that you were faced with.
It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me. Sure, I can introduce myself. I am VP of Smart Medicines at TruTag Technology, but I've had a long-standing career in healthcare, many sides of the equation in healthcare, from direct patient care to med device, pharma development, digital health, and innovation. So I think all of these roles are focused on finding better new ways of doing things in healthcare. So it kind of is by osmosis that you adopt an innovation mindset. So I think that's appropriate for today's topic, sharing a personal story and how digital health helped a family member. And so I appreciate the invitation to do this.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeannette. I think this is an incredible story, which we're really, I think, an important share. So thank you for joining and describing this situation. So could you go into kind of what you were faced with? And
sure. I'm happy to. And let me just say, I mean, when this all happened, over a decade ago, digital health was nowhere where it is today. And I even at the time couldn't even get my points across. Nobody understood digital like they do today. And you look at what COVID's done, it's catapulted digital to the forefront. And now everyone's speaking the same language and using all the tools that are available. So in that context, my experience is like so many others, I'm sure, who have had a family member suddenly diagnosed with a grave condition and faced with these important, overwhelming healthcare medical decisions. And in our case, it was a very healthy family member, no symptoms, diagnosed with end-stage renal failure. It was a surprise to everyone, the patient, all of us, even his medical team. And I remember we are fortunate enough to have access to top medical care in the Boston area from around the world. And when you see that medical team invite every physician in the hospital to come in and look at the first end-stage renal patient with no symptoms that they've ever seen in the career, it kind of, it sets you back. You think, oh my goodness, this is really a special case. So within 4 months, he was very lucky to receive a kidney transplant. It all went great. But within 6 months, the same thing started happening to the transplanted kidney. And these are a busy medical team. They're seeing every 20 minutes, very specialized case from around the world. Their schedules are very packed. And when you hear them say, boy, we've never seen this, or the last case we saw was 12 years ago, we really can't extrapolate any learnings, we need to hit the books here. I thought these were the folks who write the books, right?
Yeah.
Overwhelming to say the least. And again, I'm sure I'm sharing what a lot of folks do when they are faced with, an overwhelming diagnosis. But they proceeded to treat him on the traditional therapy, which had a lot of side effects. And I could feel this spiraling into what felt like a black hole of reduced quality of life, grave side effects, and time seemed to be of the essence. So that was, how he was diagnosed. This all happened so quickly. So to me, from my vantage point, and again, I probably had a unique vantage point because I had been doing some consulting, looking at next gen features, functionality of new pharma products. I had a little bit of a leg up on some of the digital tools that might have been available at the time. But what hitting the books meant to me is that these doctors needed to find access right away to the most relevant information that probably was, hard to find, like a needle in a haystack for this particular rare case, and take a personalized approach to this case and, to optimize patient outcomes. And so, of course, this would have eventually happened, but I could see time being of the essence. There were traditional means of sharing, like grand rounds and second opinions and, reviewing research articles. But I, just felt, oh my goodness, is there really a way that we could actually identify specialty physicians from around the world who had seen a threshold number of these cases and convene them in a way that they could do this knowledge sharing and give their perspective on what success looks like, and learn from their trial and error on treating these this very rare disease.
Yeah, and I think, it's such an intense situation where you're really faced with a crisis. You're told that, there's research that's needed. And this is, as you say, from experts in the field, the people who write the books, as you said, no time for trial and error. And so here you had to kind of look at, get knowledge. There's a knowledge gap on, what are the best protocols here, a rare condition. So how did you determine, based on your healthcare experience, you're looking at how do you propose a way forward when you're collaborating in this patient care situation, both as a advocate for a family member, but also as a researcher? How did you determine the problem to be solved?
Well, I felt I was in a unique vantage point, that it was a perfect storm coming together, and I could see this in a way that, was probably not been done before. And the real problem was accelerating that access to that information and taking more of a precision medicine approach here, given that the blanketed approach in the protocol, which protocols are wonderful and they're based on past experience. And often you hear, well, 99% of the time, well, he was always that 1%, the outlier, right? So I proposed to his medical team, and honestly, they did say to me, this is a unique, situation of family involvement, right? But the power of digital health was in its early stages, honestly. Things like you could do PubMed searches now on research articles. There was the first patient advocacy chat room and blog just coming to light, and these bulletin board type exchange platforms that were very clunky, but it allowed you to type in asynchronously, respond to a thread of questioning and post follow-up questions. But they weren't well known or used. I had the privilege of one of the projects I handled using one of them and realized the power of it. I was an immediate digital adopter once I did that. So I approached his medical team with my methodology on how to supplement their efforts. And I am so grateful they took me up on this. I would identify thought leaders who had published articles on this diagnosis. And I had my own screening criteria of 5 or 6 patients here. Which would kind of, give credence to, eliminate the trial and error piece that sees some quantification of what was success. And I'd enlist them to review his case online, putting up biopsies and imaging. For the first time, you could put high pixel, high resolution imaging up online, and use this bulletin board chat threaded discussion to review his specific case. I was successful in recruiting 8 physicians. I think I identified 32, found their email addresses, recruited them. And I had the top nephrologists and immunologists from Japan, Greece, Europe, US, convened in an online chat for about 3 weeks. And they weighed in on this very rich discussion. I recall one physician spending 7 hours on this case. And to me, that meant that this was a very special scenario. They knew they were in an anonymous peer-to-peer. They were learning as well, from each other and from this rare case. So fast forward, within 3 weeks, we had wonderful, rich discussion. And at the next patient visit, I switched hats from a researcher to the caregiver and had a very strong informed opinion on what might work and be able to, balance the risk reward of these different options. His medical team did end up writing letters of medical necessity for one of the first immunotherapies, and it had never been used in this scenario. And it made a huge difference, lots of value there. It slowed the rate of decline of the kidney, but it also extended the time for him to go on dialysis. But most importantly, it actually prepared him for the next kidney. And I'd like to say, this is such a miracle. I realize there are many cases that don't end, or have this ending, but his name popped up on the National Kidney Donor List with if anyone knows anything about tissue matching, a 6-6 match. And he's doing very well to this day. And fast forward again, this line of therapy is now first line for this. And I am just so grateful that it's helping him, but also so many other patients, and would love to think I had a tiny part played in that. Just being able to get that information early on when it was so critical to his outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeanette. I think it really is a true story of patient empowerment. Also, as a researcher and innovator yourself, applying those tools and in a way that can, lead to that outcome that you were looking for in an accelerated pace. It was just truly amazing. And as you described, this was in the early stages of digital health. No wearables, no biomarkers or digital biomarkers. Validated tools were not there at that time. So this really puts forward, I think, the opinion of digital health and how that has enabled patient outcomes. And it's not just about the technology, it's about what you do with the technology, how you apply it in different situations. So I think this is really an incredible story here, Jeanette. And what would be your advice to others who are facing this types of situation in your view on digital health today?
I think it's an exciting time for digital health, no question. If you look at digital health and the tools now available, the market has exploded. They are more accessible than ever. I think having that innovative mindset is helpful because it allows you to see possibilities and ask those hard questions. Why not? Is there a better way? But I would encourage patients who are trying to find the right information or personalize their particular, disease state or scenario. to explore these many digital tools that are now available. They offer objective, reliable, real-time data. And I think that can only inform at a minimum, but empower a patient to not feel victimized by their disease as much, or just feel like you're a recipient, but be a partner in those discussions and those medical decisions. I think, there's remote monitoring, there's pulse oximetry you can do at home. There's actually our discussion here is a great segue from Dr. Shah's discussion about all of those plethora of digital tools that are available, and how they become, in a very emotional time, managing a disease, objective data upon which you can, real world evidence that you can have a very informed discussion with your physician and medical team about. So I think it has the opportunity to accelerate care and become an empowering tool to, become a partner in your own or your loved one's medical care.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. Really appreciate you sharing this experience. I think it's a call to action to many of us in healthcare to really look at how we can apply technologies in service of those problems that we're trying to solve, and looking at the patient perspective and quality of life, and bringing that to the forefront. So thank you so much, Jeanette. It was a pleasure talking with you today.
It's a pleasure, Zina, always. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that personal story.